Guys, if you look back to around 2008 to maybe 2012, 2013, you will remember, no doubt, that there were a lot of prepping, survival type reality shows on television. It seemed like every night we were being bombarded with one survival show after another. I would say there was probably at one time 8 to 10 different reality television shows about prepping and survival. Most of those were about bushcraft, but a few were about actual prepping for doomsday, like doomsday preppers, doomsday bunkers. It was all over the place, all the time. And prepping was extremely popular. And you know, if you watch some of those shows and you hadn't had any prepping skills before, especially bushcraft type skills, you could watch some of those shows and you could pick up, a few useful tidbits here and there. However, it was mostly for entertainment, but you could pick up a few skills, like I said, here and there. But one of those shows that was on during that time period, at least in my opinion, was extremely dangerous, especially for someone who didn't know what they were doing. It was extremely dangerous. Some of the stuff they showed and some of the ways that the main star of the show acted. I mean, I watched maybe 5 or 6 of those, and every time I was like, what is this guy doing? Is he trying to get people killed? And I know he was trying to be entertaining, but if you have a prepping show, if you have a YouTube channel for that matter, it is your responsibility to try to actually help people, try to show actual skills more than just being entertained. But that show was Bear Grylls. Bear Grylls, in my opinion, was extremely dangerous when it came to, especially for young people watching that show. They would see that and they would see this moron running through the woods like an idiot, jumping over logs, jumping 250 foot into a lake off of a cliff, climbing in trees. I mean, doing all kinds of crazy stuff that you should not be doing, in a survival situation. And unfortunately, I would say a lot of people watched that show and they thought that was actually a good idea because it was exciting. You was going to be a prepper running through the woods like a deer. That wasn't good skills. That wasn't something that should be taken to heart as actually something to do when you're in the bush or doing anything in life most all the time. I mean, there's exceptions to being in a hurry. Like if you have a bunch of people after you with machetes, you should be in a hurry to get out of there. If you have a grizzly bear or a polar bear, you should be in a hurry to get out of there. But just running through the woods like a jackrabbit was dangerous. Extremely dangerous in an actual survival situation. So with that said, one of the most important survival skills to learn is to slow down. You want to take it slow. And this goes for bushcraft, if you're going through the wilderness, if you're lost and trying to find your way out, if you are a prepper working in the garden, if you are repairing something, you want to take it slow. You don't want to rush. You don't want to be running, because it just opens you up for danger. It opens you up to, get hurt. If you're in the bush, for example, when you're running like that, you're likely to get your leg broken. You could fall, break an arm, hit your head on a rock. You could step on a rattlesnake. You would run off any game that was around. I mean, you would pass up all kinds of shelter opportunities, shelters to pick up, firewood, dry tinder. I mean, you're running through the woods like a moron, like he was doing all the time, or just about all the time, and you would miss everything and increase your risk of getting hurt severely. Falling down, getting a broke leg, broke arm, broke wrist, hit your head on a rock and have a concussion, or even worse, die. Step on a rattlesnake, fall on your knife, fall on your spear. I mean, you want to take it slow. You want to take it as slow as possible, because it's extremely important. You don't want it to get hurt. If you're lost in the woods, or even if you're way off camping somewhere and you get hurt, you might not be able to get help. You might not be able to get out, especially if you're by yourself, and you don't want that. You want to take your time. If you're in a survival situation like they were portraying in those television shows, you want to go slow, because you don't want, like I said, to get hurt. It's common sense, in my opinion. But so many people, as soon as they get lost, they will start out just flailing through the woods, trying to find a way out, and get themselves turned around even more. And like I said, risk falling over a cliff, risk breaking their leg, risk stepping on a rattlesnake, falling on their knife if they have one, passing up all kinds of survival opportunities and resources you could use to better your chances of surviving through that situation. So take it slow. Learn to slow things down. The same thing with prepping, not the actual prepping part. As far as the stockpiling part goes, you need to have a plan for that and not waste money. But if you're doing things like, building a shelter on your property, building a barn, for example, if you're building a root cellar, if you're putting in raised beds, if you're gardening, if you're going down to feed your chickens, you want to take it slow. You don't want to rush. Like last year, I went down to my chicken coop to feed the chickens, to get clean drinking water, and to get the eggs, to gather the eggs up. And open the chicken coop that I have has a door on the back side that opens up, and the nesting boxes are here so you can get the eggs out right there. Well, I always take it slow, and I always ease that back and look before opening it all the way up, because there could be a snake in there. And one day there was a snake in there. I eased it back, and a big black snake was in there. So I just stepped back and let the door drop, and got a stick and got that snake out of there. But it could have just easily been a rattlesnake in there. And if I'd have been like most people, rushing and everything, and just opened it up, and there the snake would have been, or take it slow, slow down, watch where you're stepping. Don't be like Bear Grylls running through the woods like a lunatic. You want to take it slow. Pay attention. Don't get hurt. Think what you need to do next. If you are rushing, running like a moron in a survival situation, not only, like I said, can you get hurt or even dead, you can also pass up a lot of resources. You might run right by a perfect shelter opportunity. You might run right by food opportunity, dry firewood, tinder, resources you can use, because you're running through, not paying attention to anything, and you're running like a deer that's been shot, been gut shot, and he just takes off running as fast as he can go, as far as he can go, until he just tires out and falls over. And that's what Bear Grylls reminded me of. That deer, if you're ever hunted deer, and if you don't make a good shot, you want to put that shot right through the heart, right behind the front leg, down low, through the heart. If you miss by a little bit, the deer will still go die, but as soon as that shot hits, he'll take off running as fast as he can go, and will run as far as he can run until he runs out of blood, until he just falls over and collapses, because he can't keep going any longer. He goes into complete shock, blood loss, and eventually will fall over. But the deer may run 4 or 5 miles, that you have to try to track that blood trail to find that deer as you shot. You don't want to be like that. And that's what Bear Grylls reminded me of, was, a deer has been gut shot and take off running through the woods. He got on my nerves so bad, you can probably tell watching this video, he got on my nerves really, really badly. And he may have a lot of skills. He may actually know what he was doing. Sure didn't seem like it on the show, but of course he probably had producers and everything telling him what to do to make the show more exciting. And me personally, I just said, no, I'm not doing this stupid crap. This is not portraying actual survival skills, which what this show is supposed to be about. And people will watch this and think this is the way you actually do things, and someone might actually get lost and act like I'm doing in this video and actually get hurt. They may see a river and go, woohoo, time to jump over the 250-foot cliff down into the river and drowned. I mean, really, take it slow. If you're working on your property, always think before doing anything. Wear safety gear. If you're using a hammer, if you're using a skill saw, chainsaw, you want to have safety gear. You want to have something over your eyes at the very least, because if you're using a hammer and you're driving the nail, that can have a chip come off of that nail. The nail can actually pop out itself and hit you in the eye. My uncle knows all about that. He actually was driving the nail, it came out, hit him in the eye, and he had to wear a patch for a long time, and just about went blind in one eye. So it definitely happens. Use protection. Use protection. I always use protection. But, not that kind of protection I'm talking about in this video, but that works too. I always wear safety gear, using a chainsaw, hammer, anything you're doing, gloves, because you don't want to get hurt. You don't want to. Injuries now are bad enough. It takes time to heal up and set you back in your progress and everything that you're doing. But in a real survival situation, you know, if you're lost in the bush, if it's serious economic collapse, something like that, you might not be able to get out and go to the hospital. They might not accept you. They may be completely covered up with other patients, and you may have to wait. You may have to suffer even longer. So you don't want to get hurt. You want to be careful. Take your time, slow your roll, pay attention to what you're doing, and think before you do anything. Give it thought, and as you're doing it, think, how can I do this more safely and more efficiently? If you liked the video, give it a big thumbs up. Thanks for watching. I'm the Creekmore out here, and I'll see you all in the next video, hopefully.